Good afternoon, everyone. Please be seated. Routine proceedings, introduction of bills, committee reports. The Honourable Member for Tuxedo.
Honourable Speaker, I wish to present the second report on the Standing Committee on Social and Economic Development.
Sure. Pardon?
Your Standing Committee on Social and Economic Development.
Yes, Spence. The Honourable Member for Tuxedo.
Honourable Speaker, I move, seconded by the Honourable Member for Kirkfield Park, that the report of the committee be received.
Been moved by the Honourable Member for Tuxedo, seconded by the Honourable Member for Kirkfield Park, that the report of the committee be received. Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed and so ordered. The motion is accordingly passed. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Sorry, is there leave of the House to accommodate one of our ministerial statements because our guests, which are ambassadors from French countries, are not here just yet? Is there leave of the House to be able to do the ministerial or return to the ministerial after all of member statements?
Is there leave of the House to return to ministerial statements to accommodate the fact that the ambassadors have not yet arrived? Is there leave? Agreed and so ordered. Back to committee reports. The Honourable Member for St. Boniface.
Honourable Speaker, I wish to present the fifth report on the Standing Committee on Legislative Affairs.
Your Standing Committee on Legislative Affairs presents
Yes, Spence. The Honourable Member for St. Boniface.
Honourable Speaker, I move, seconded by the Honourable Member for St. River, that the report on the committee be received.
Been moved by the Honourable Member for St. Boniface, seconded by the Honourable Member for St. River, that the report of the committee be received. Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed and so ordered. The motion is accordingly passed. Tabling of reports. I have a document to table for the House. I am pleased to table the annual report of the Legislative Assembly Management Commission for the year ending March 31st, 2026. Copies of the report will be sent to members directly by email. Ministerial statements. The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today to recognize the 35th Annual Week of the Early Childhood Educator, taking place next week from April 26th to May 2nd. This week is a chance to celebrate early childhood educators, their care, their professionalism, and the difference they make for children, families, and local communities across Manitoba. Established in 1992 by the Manitoba Child Care Association, this week has become a valued Manitoba tradition. It recognizes the essential role that early childhood educators play in children's early years, building strong foundations for learning, confidence, and well-being. Early childhood educators bring skill, training, and heart to their work. Every day, they create welcoming spaces, indoors and outdoors, where children can explore, play, and belong. Their work supports our shared goal that every child in Manitoba feels safe, respected, included, and ready to succeed. Supporting ECEs is foundational to strengthening and expanding childcare. And Honourable Speaker, our support for ECEs is paying off. Since 2023, the number of certified early childhood educators in the sector has grown by more than 40%. Great news. These ECEs help to support the opening of new childcare spaces, and we will continue to build on that progress through our higher wages, good jobs, more childcare workforce strategy. In partnership with Canada, our government is making historic investments in our ECE workforce, including the largest wage increase for frontline certified ECEs in Manitoba's history. Thank you. We have more training seats in universities and colleges than ever before, and additional professional development days to support their profession. Last fall, we were proud to host the very first Manitoba Early Childhood Educator Awards of Excellence, celebrating educators whose leadership and dedication inspires us all. Pardon me. We also recently introduced a recruit back incentive to welcome certified ECEs back to the profession. And in just our first few months, Honourable Speaker, it's working. We're welcoming talented, experienced ECEs back into the classrooms. Within the Department of Education and Early Childhood Learning, we are proud to have 53 certified ECEs with a collective 700 years of experience in their field. And that expertise helps shape strong programs and services for families across Manitoba. And I'm so grateful to each and every one of them for their work, and it's my honor to work for them. On behalf of the department and my colleagues in the Legislature, thank you to the ECEs across Manitoba. Your dedication, compassion, and professionalism gives children the strongest possible start, and your impact is felt every single day. Honourable Speaker, I would like to provide a list of the names of our guests joining us in the gallery today, including representatives from the Manitoba Child Care Association, department staff who are certified ECEs, and some of the recipients of the 2025 Early Childhood Educator Awards of Excellence. We are pleased to welcome you to the Legislature, and we will include them in Hansard. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Merci, Miigwech. Merci. Yeah.
The Honourable Member for Lac du Bonnet.
Thank you, and welcome to our wonderful guests in the gallery today, Honourable Speaker. I rise today to mark the 35th annual week of the Early Childhood Educator, which will begin on April 26th, which is a time dedicated to recognizing and celebrating the extraordinary contributions of early childhood educators all across this great province of ours. Established in 1992 by the Manitoba Child Care Association following the National Caring for a Living study, this week has been proclaimed annually to honor those who care for a living. It acknowledges the essential role early childhood educators play in supporting families, strengthening communities, and contributing to the social and economic well-being of our province. Whether working in early learning and childcare centres or family childcare homes, these professionals provide safe, nurturing, and enriching environments where children can grow and thrive. Their work extends far beyond supervision. They foster the social, emotional, physical, and intellectual development of our youngest citizens during the most formative years of life. The week provides an important opportunity to reflect on and recognize the dedication, compassion, and expertise that early childhood educators bring to their work every day. They are on the front lines of our education system, helping to build strong foundations for lifelong learning and success. It actually is a big kudos to former Premier Heather Stevenson for amalgamating the two departments, early childhood education with the Department of Education, because it just makes sense. Our children are our future, and early childhood educators play a vital role in shaping that future. Our former PC government took an important step to strengthen the early learning and childcare sector, including participation in the Canada-Manitoba Early Learning and Childcare Agreement, with investments such as expansion and renovation funding for not-for-profit centres, Increased access to training and certification opportunities have helped expanded programs, including Francophone educators and ECE upgrading as well. The introduction of more affordable childcare, which made meaningful progress in supporting Manitoba families. To all early childhood educators, childcare professionals, and student volunteers across Manitoba, thank you. Your dedication, care, and commitment make a lasting difference in the lives of children and families each and every day. Our economy grows when we're able to get to work. This week and every week, we recognize and celebrate your invaluable contributions. Manitoba works when childcare works. Thank you, merci, and miigwech, Honorable Speaker. Stand up.
The Honourable Minister of Municipal and Northern Affairs.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je suis heureux de prendre la parole aujourd'hui pour souligner la visite officielle du groupe des ambassadrices et ambassadeurs francophones d'Ottawa dans notre belle province. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to rise today to mark the official visit of the groupe d'ambassadrices et ambassadeurs francophones d'Ottawa to our beautiful province. Cette semaine, le Manitoba a l'honneur d'accueillir une délégation d'une quinzaine de dignitaires issus d'États membres de l'Organisation internationale de la francophonie. Pour notre gouvernement, cette visite est l'occasion de faire connaître la vitalité de la francophonie manitobaine et de mettre en valeur nos institutions franco-manitobaines. For our government, this visit is an opportunity to affirm the vitality of our francophonie and to highlight our Franco-Manitoban institutions. Nous voulons dialoguer ouvertement avec des partenaires qui jouent un rôle clé au sein de la francophonie internationale, puisque nous poursuivons activement les démarches pour devenir membre observateur de l'Organisation internationale de la francophonie. Nous voulons faire rayonner le Manitoba et notre francophonie bien au-delà de nos frontières. We want to have an open dialogue with partners who play a key role in the internal organization of the francophonie as we are actively pursuing becoming a member of the International Organisation of the Francophonie. La présence des dignitaires cette semaine démontre concrètement l'engagement de notre gouvernement à faire du Manitoba une province véritablement bilingue, où il est possible de vivre, de travailler et de recevoir des services dans la langue de son choix, et où la francophonie continue de s'épanouir. Welcoming the dignitaries to our province this week concretely shows our government's commitment to make Manitoba a truly bilingual province, where it is possible to live, work, and receive services in the language of choice, and where our francophonie continues to thrive. Monsieur le Président, je demande à tous les membres de l'Assemblée de se joindre à moi pour souligner cette visite exceptionnelle de Son Excellence Monsieur l'Ambassadeur Apollinaire Aya et de tous les membres du groupe des ambassadrices et ambassadeurs francophones au Manitoba en ce mois d'avril. Merci.
The Honourable Member for Lac du Bonny.
Honourable Speaker, I am pleased to rise today to warmly welcome the Francophone Ambassadors Group here to Winnipeg. Notre province possède un riche héritage francophone qui continue de féconder ce que nous sommes aujourd'hui. De notre histoire à nos institutions culturelles en passant par les nombreuses communautés qui vivent et travaillent fièrement en français. Cet héritage est quelque chose que nous partageons et célébrons tous. Votre présence joue un rôle important dans la promotion de la langue française, l'encouragement des échanges culturels et le renforcement de liens au sein de notre province et au-delà. Your efforts help ensure Manitoba remains a place where linguistic duality is respected and where Francophone culture continues to thrive for future generations. Whether through education, community leadership, or cultural promotion, your work enriches our social fabric and strengthens our collective identity. On behalf of this House, I extend our sincere gratitude for your commitment and leadership. We are proud to welcome you to Winnipeg and Manitoba and wish you a productive and inspiring visit. J'aimerais bien souhaiter le bienvenue. Some names I would like to, or countries that are represented here today. Honorable Speaker, of course, we have representatives and ambassadors from the Republic of Congo, Morocco, France, Rwanda, Tunisia, Costa Rica, Chad, Côte d'Ivoire, Romaine, Thailand, and OIF Japan. Thank you, merci, Honorable Speaker, and welcome to our guests once again today.
Just for the information of everyone, we no longer need to implement the leave request. We don't need to revert back because the member did his ministerial statement already. So now we'll move on to member statements. The Honourable Member for Dawson Trail.
Good afternoon. By now, it's probably no secret how much I enjoy February, especially as it marks I Love to Read Month. Connecting with educators and meeting my youngest constituents is always a highlight. During this year's visits to schools in St. Anne, I had the opportunity to speak with students about my role as an MLA and the responsibilities that come with it. Students in grade 3 through 6 were then invited to share the changes they would like to see in our province. Some of the initial suggestions were lighthearted, with students proposing that the Honourable Minister of Education consider the following. Weekends should be 3 days instead of 2. School days should start later and end earlier. Summer, Christmas, and spring breaks should be longer. They also raised thoughtful and practical questions. Could school catchment areas in rural communities be expanded, potentially supported by hiring more bus drivers? Could there be an option for busing to schools within towns, as children may not have safe sidewalks to walk on? Then came some more serious and thought-provoking concerns. Can the government hire more police officers so my dad has more support and more time at home? Can the government regulate or limit AI, as it's becoming harder to tell what is real? Can there be rules restricting social media use for children under the age of 15? Can the government better protect animals by strengthening hunting regulations and increasing fines for poaching? Can food prices be lowered so everyone has access to healthy options? Listening to the voices of our children is incredibly important. While many of these issues are already being discussed and in some cases acted upon, it is a powerful reminder that concerns we share as adults are also felt by the next generation.
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. This year marks a remarkable milestone for one of Union Station's in downtown Winnipeg's most distinctive and enduring music spaces. The Times Changed High and Lonesome Club is celebrating 25 years of bringing people together through live music, grit, and storytelling. This legendary venue recently marked its 25th anniversary with a high-energy, sold-out appearance by four-time Juno winners, the Sheepdogs. The club is tucked into the historic Fortune Block, a building that has stood since 1882. It bears the name of Mark Fortune, a Winnipeg businessman who tragically perished in the sinking of the Titanic. In a poetic twist of history, the club marks its anniversary every year on April 15th, the very day the ship went down. It is a story as distinctive as the setting itself, a space that remains a steadfast anchor in our changing times. The Times Changed presents over 200 events annually, drawing more than 30,000 patrons to downtown to connect generations of music fans. At the helm is owner John Scholes. A born and raised Manitoban, husband to Megan Pearson, a proud father to Francis, John was recently named the 2025 Western Canada Music Awards Kevin Walters Industry Builder. The prestigious award recognizes his decades of commitment to nurturing the early careers of acclaimed artists such as Begonia, William Prince, and the brothers Landreth, and our own caucus favorite, the MLA for St. James. John joins us today and is accompanied by his wife, Megan Pearson, and his relatives, Ted Scholes, Susan Fay, Christy Pearson, Steve Scholes, and Patty Scholes. I invite all members to join me in recognizing the Times Changed High and Lonesome Club for 25 years of community. Thank you for reminding us that when we create space for art, we create space for belonging. And here in Manitoba, everyone belongs. Thank you.
Way to go, John!
The Honourable Member for La Vérendrye.
Honourable Speaker, I rise today to recognize an inspiring grassroots initiative making a real difference in the lives of men across Manitoba and now expanding across Canada. Cowboys Mud Racing. Founded by Ryan Ward alongside his mentor, Brian Brown, this group was born out of personal experience. Following a serious brain injury in 2021, Ryan discovered what he calls throttle therapy. Time spent outdoors in the mud behind the wheel was not just recreation, but a powerful tool for healing and mental well-being. Rather than keep his experience to himself, Ryan chose to share it. Together with Brian, they created Cowboys Mud Racing to provide an outlet for men who may otherwise struggle in silence. It's a space where men can connect, talk, and support one another. Without pressure, without stigma, and in an environment that feels natural to them. Honourable Speaker, what makes this initiative so impactful is its authenticity. It meets people where they are. It recognizes that mental health support doesn't always look like a traditional setting, and that for many, healing can begin with something as simple as community, shared experience, and a sense of belonging. This work has not gone unnoticed. Cowboys Mud Racing has been featured in media across the province, and it is already expanding, with new chapters forming beyond Manitoba. Yet its roots remain strong in the St. Pierre area, right in my constituency of La Vérendrye. To Ryan, Brian, Dan, and everyone involved, thank you. Your leadership is changing lives, strengthening communities, and proving that even in the mud, something powerful can grow. Please join me in recognizing Cowboys Mud Racing in the gallery today.
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today to uplift a truly remarkable talent from the Saugeen Anishinaabe Nation, Anishinaabe artist Henry Guimond. I have often spoken in this chamber about the incredible gifts that exist within our Indigenous communities, and today I am in awe of how those gifts are reaching new heights, quite literally reaching for the stars. Henry was commissioned to design the personal mission patch for Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen for the historic Artemis II mission. This month, as we watched this breathtaking launch on April the 1st, we saw the spirit of Saging stitched onto a flight suit orbiting Grandmother Moon. Working alongside Elder Dave Cashane III of the Turtle Lodge, Henry created a heptagonal design representing the 7 sacred laws: the buffalo for respect, eagle for love, bear for courage, sabe for honesty, beaver for wisdom, wolf for humility, and turtle for truth. These are not just symbols, they are Anishinaabe guiding principles for living in relationship with the earth and each other. The patch is laden with profound meaning. It depicts the fisher, Odgi, to remind us that humanity has always looked to the stars for direction. It features a 5-pointed North Star, Giweden Anang, representing the 5 members of the Hansen family, and a thin blue line symbolizing the light and spirit within all living things. By launching the Orion capsule from Turtle Island, Henry has ensured our stories and our ways of understanding the world are represented on a celestial stage. Honorable Speaker, our ancestors sat under this night sky, passing down star teachings that have guided us for generations. In 2023, those ancient paths converged with the future of exploration at Saging's Turtle Lodge. It was there that Jeremy Hansen went on a vision quest, seeking a deeper connection to the land, and it was through a chance encounter with Henry that a powerful collaboration was born, one that carried our star teachings all the way to the moon. This is a reminder to our youth that our heritage belongs everywhere, here on earth and beyond. I ask all members to join me.
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Honourable Speaker, I rise today to recognize an outstanding educator and a community leader, Darcy McComb of Ebb and Flow First Nation. Darcy's inspiring journey is one of the purpose and belief of the power of education. After high school graduation, he worked for several years in the construction with his father before finding his calling in 1999 as an educational assistant at Ebb and Flow School. While working full-time, he pursued his own education at the Brandon University and graduated in 2008 with a teaching degree. He overcame challenges, including supporting his son during a serious illness. Teacher, guidance counselor, principal, now a director of education for the Ebb and Flow First Nation. Darcy led a major school infrastructure projects that created opportunities for students. His champions First Nation culture and language ensures Indigenous students feel seen, valued, and proud. In 2015, Darcy suffered a major heart attack. With the support of the elder, the culture, ceremonies, he began his journey of healing, including traditional medicine and the powwow circle. Darcy is respected as a powwow MC across Treaty 2 and Treaty 4, using his voice to bring people together through culture and the community. He believes these traditional practices help him heal and shape the person he is today. His life reflects the true spirit of education. He leads with humility and believes we succeed working together for a team approach. I also want to acknowledge people in the gallery that are here today. Unfortunately, I ran out of time, but I also want to acknowledge 800 students are watching right now on video of this ceremony that's taking place at the Legislature. Congratulations, Mr. Malcolm.
Great job.
Order, please. Before oral questions, as it turns out, there are some guests in the gallery that I would like to introduce. I draw the attention of all honourable members to the public gallery, where we have with us today Darcy Malcolm, Elaine Malcolm, Darcy's wife, Lucy Campbell, his mother, Kayla Houle, daughter, April Malcolm, daughter, Myrna Malcolm, sister, Mitchell Malcolm, nephew, Derek McCorrister, Modern Clan Media, and a group of staff and students at Ebb and Flow First Nation School who are watching live online, and they're guests of the Honourable Minister of Agriculture. We welcome you all here today. And I'd like to draw the attention of all honourable members to the public gallery, where we have with us today members of the Cowboys Mud Racing, Ryan Ward, Dan Lambo, Brian Brown, Bill Marsh, Gary Hora, who, as it turns out, is joining us in celebrating his birthday today, Elisa Martins, along with Alicia Martins and Nash Gundi, who are guests of the Honourable Member for La Vérendrye, and we welcome you all here today as well. And now, oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Manitoban families, workers, and associations are all raising red flags when it comes to this NDP government and their poorly thought out legislation. Now yet another association has come forward. The Winnipeg Construction Association is coming forward and wrote a letter on April 8th to the Minister of Public Service Delivery, raising more red flags, and yet no response from this minister. Unlike the Premier and his entire NDP government, we on this side of the House are listening to Manitobans affected by their poorly thought out legislation that will make their living conditions unsafe, fall into disrepair, and will negatively affect Manitobans working here at the trades, causing them to lose their jobs. The experts have warned that if this government proceeds with their agenda, and I'll quote Ron Hamley, president of WCA, deferred maintenance becomes the norm, creating unsustainable living conditions for tenants, end quote. When will the Premier listen to Manitobans and reverse his decision on this poorly thought out legislation?
Member's time has expired. The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I want to make very clear that on this side of the House, we have a government led by a phenomenal Premier who cares about all Manitobans. And cares about all Manitobans having what they need in order to have the best outcomes possible in this province. That's right. And we have, on this side of the House, the best finance minister in the entire country, sitting right to my right. And Budget 2026 has a number of measures to make life more affordable and to support specifically renters, and that is after 7.5 years, two terms back-to-back of a PC government who only worked to make life less expensive and more difficult for renters here in Manitoba.
That's right. Right on.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
The Premier won't even stand up and answer the question. Renters are coming forward and saying that living conditions will become unsafe if they pass Bill 13. And this isn't the only industry coming forward. Other industries have also been vocal in raising their concerns about the NDP job-killing Manitoba Jobs Agreement and the political slush fund that this NDP government is funding by funneling your taxpayer dollars to their union bosses. Let that sink in. This NDP government has put forward an agreement that will take 85 cents of every hour worked by every Manitoban working in this province and put it into a slush fund with no accountability, no transparency, and no reporting to Manitobans. That is just wrong. Will the Premier reverse his decision today and stop the NDP job-killing agreement and commit to a fully and transparent process so Manitobans know what they're doing with their money?
Great question. The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Honourable Speaker, everybody in Manitoba knows that we are a government that stands with workers. Everybody in Manitoba knows that.
Right, yeah.
We are the party of workers.
That's right.
We are the party of working people. That's who we are. Everybody in Manitoba also knows they can't trust a single thing that comes out of the Leader of the Opposition's mouth. That's right. The Leader of the Opposition was at the cabinet table when they were making life more expensive for renters, when they were making life more expensive for everybody across this province and doing nothing not even doing the basics to make life more affordable. So on this side of the House, we're making life more affordable. We're standing with workers. We're making sure that in this province you have a little bit more so you can get a little further ahead. That's the commitment we've made to Manitobans after 7.5 years of a failed
Member's
PC
time has expired. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
By the Deputy Premier's own admission, they are not listening to 88% of Manitobans that are affected by this NDP's job-killing agreement. 88% of Manitobans that work in this industry have come forward and said they do not support this. They are not a listening government, Honourable Speaker. This NDP government also has not secured a major project from this federal government. The only province in all of Canada that has not secured a major project. Honourable Speaker, Manitobans would have hoped that at least this NDP government would have supported local companies. And yet this NDP government has chosen to funnel $36 million of your taxpayer dollars to a company based in the United States of America. Will the Premier do the right thing and admit he was wrong, apologize to Manitobans for betraying them, and commit to spending that $36 million here in Manitoba instead of Philadelphia?
Good line.
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Honourable Speaker, the only person who owes Manitobans an apology is the Leader of the Opposition.
That's right. That's right.
It would serve him well to finally get to doing that. On this side of the House, Honourable Speaker, we're focused solely and squarely on Manitobans and making life better for them across the province. I want to be clear that the company he's referencing is a Canadian-based company, but I also want to point out that he's jumping around a lot this question period. And I think that's because he knows if anybody pays attention to what he's saying too long enough, you can't trust or believe anything that comes out of his mouth, Honourable Speaker. On this side of the House, we're going to keep taking steps to strengthen our economy. Our Premier works very hard on behalf of all Manitobans to build relationships at every level of government to move Manitoba forward. That's something the Leader of the Opposition...
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a new question.
3 questions on growing the economy and not one answer from this NDP government. So let's switch gears here. Today, the Manitoba Association of Healthcare Professionals corrected the Premier and this NDP government's disastrous healthcare record. The Premier and his colleagues encouraged all of us to listen to workers and their unions yesterday, so we encourage the Premier to take his own advice today and listen for once. These workers on the front line say things are getting worse. In November, this government said that they had hired 231 net new paramedics, when in reality it was only 18. That's not math, that's error, that's deception, and that's flat out wrong. Yep. The Premier promised to hire 200 new paramedics in his first term, so why in his first 2.5 years is there a net loss of 34 paramedics?
Wow.
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Honourable Speaker, you can tell by the tepid applause on that side of the House, they don't even believe him. His own caucus doesn't believe anything he has to say, Honourable Speaker. You want to talk about health care? Let's talk about health care. When the PCs were in government, they lost a net loss of 90 paramedics here in Manitoba. What's our record on this side of the House? A net gain of 41 paramedics in our health care system, Honourable Speaker. That's ACPs, that's PCPs. We're bringing back EMRs, we're looking at ICPs, and we know there's more work to do. 7.5 years of cuts and chaos, we're getting it done on this side of the House.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
More false information by this NDP government. There's a net loss of 34 paramedics. According to Jason Linklater, Honourable Speaker, in December of 2023, when this NDP government was in charge, there was 519 paramedics available to attend emergencies in rural Manitoba. In December of 2025, there was only 485. That is a net loss. Wow. The Premier can't deny these facts, and he can't call the union a liar. Jason Linklater, President, says paramedics and Manitobans they serve are tired of the number game being played by this government. Wow. End quote. He's right. This is Manitoba's health we're talking about, and this NDP government needs to stop playing games. In 2.5 years, there's been a net loss of paramedics. When will the Premier come forward and admit that he has no plan for hiring paramedics and that healthcare is getting worse under his watch?
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Honourable Speaker, I'm thrilled to be talking about healthcare again in the chamber. I really and truly am. The Leader of the Opposition was around the cabinet table when they were firing paramedics. They fired over 90 paramedics from rural Manitoba.
Shame.
They wouldn't let advanced care paramedics even practice, even get a job in rural Manitoba. Not only have we hired net new paramedics here in the province in 2 years, but we, for the first time in Manitoba's history, have advanced care paramedics working across rural Manitoba, showing up when you need them across rural communities. We are working directly with municipalities to stand up more ERS services. They closed 23 EMS stations. They cut EMS hours across rural Manitoba. Shame on them.
Time has expired. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
This Deputy Premier loves living in the past. The fact is, they are at the cabinet table now. They are making decisions now, and healthcare is worse now than it ever was. You can hear by their applause that they are endorsing that healthcare is worse now than it's ever been in the history of this province. And I don't blame the unions. I don't blame frontline workers. This government has been caught once again gaslighting Manitobans on multiple occasions. This government wields misinformation like a weapon and uses it to keep people confused and guessing. Manitobans don't believe this government, and frontline workers don't believe this government. The unions are calling this government out for their misrepresentation of the numbers of net lost paramedics. And I'll quote, "Manitobans are paying the price in longer waits for life-saving paramedic care," end quote. When will this Premier stop playing games with people's lives and reveal his plan?
Member, time has expired. The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Honourable Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is correct. I am at the cabinet table now. That is correct. And I'll tell you what, Honourable Speaker, I'm proud to sit at a cabinet table and to sit in an NDP caucus that understands healthcare and stands with workers. And when I stood with workers this morning at QP's AGM, you know what I heard loud and clear? They never ever want to see a PC government in power again here in Manitoba. And you know what, Honourable Speaker? They never ever will see a PC government ever in power here again in Manitoba. We're fixing healthcare, we're investing in making it stronger. The members opposite would do themselves a favor and fix the damage in their own house as it stands today.
The Honourable Member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Yesterday I asked the Minister whether he believes that regulatory burden in this province is holding back economic growth. His answer was no, yet the latest report from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business states very clearly that excessive regulations are discouraging entrepreneurship, undermining competitiveness, and impeding on innovation. Businesses are saying it, the economists are saying it. Why is this minister the only one that can't see it?
The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Well, it's unanimous around businesses. The number one threat to our economy is Donald Trump's tariffs, right? The U.S. tariffs, the threats to our Canadian and Manitoban economy. The same tariffs that member opposites were thankful for. Now, the member opposite should do Manitobans a favor and state clearly, does he support Donald Trump's tariffs or does he support Manitoba businesses? On this side of the House, we know we stand with Manitobans. We stand with businesses and we stand with workers. Workers who work hard each and every day to grow our economy. Businesses, small businesses, that employ more Manitobans with good-paying jobs. And we're so happy that there's 11,000 new jobs right here in Manitoba just this month. That's how we grow an economy that works for everyone and stand up for Manitoba businesses.
The Honourable Member for La Vérendrye on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, on this side of the House, we'll dwell on our potential, not dwell on Donald Trump like the minister chooses. In estimates yesterday, the minister tried to defend his record by selectively quoting from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business report. But what he didn't mention is that in the very same report, it gives Manitoba an F on red tape and regulation. That's not my opinion. That's the voice of Manitoba job creators. So I'll ask again, why is this minister ignoring the very evidence that he's trying to rely on?
The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Honourable Speaker, the fact that the member opposite couldn't just stand in this place and say that he stands with Manitoba businesses and workers instead of Donald Trump and the Americans tells a lot to Manitobans right now. It's very, very telling. But, Honourable Speaker, maybe he's too worried about his own constituency to clearly call out Donald Trump and his tariffs. But while he's busy figuring out his position, I'll stay focused on Manitobans. I'll stay focused on workers right here, growing our economy, breaking down barriers, making new agreements with international and national partners, making sure we have the right supports, like our export support program, which we doubled to help more businesses reach international markets. It's how we grow our economy right here in Manitoba. It's how we make our supply chains more resilient, and how we double down on Manitoba.
Time has expired. The Honourable Member for La-Vérendrye on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, that minister's right. I represent my constituents, and my constituents are leading the province in economic development. The difference between this side of the House and that side is simple. Here, we listen to businesses, and there, they're ignoring them. We have a solution. A single-desk permitting system, one point of contact, clear timelines, and accountability. Other provinces are streamlining approvals and attracting new investment, while Manitoba is falling behind. Why won't this minister implement a single-window system to actually get projects approved and grow our economy?
Red tape window.
The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Once again, members opposite continue to be off base and not understand and listen to businesses. We listen to businesses not only from southeast Manitoba, but from Pembina Valley, the Westman, Winnipeg, Interlake, northern Manitoba to grow one Manitoba economy. That's going to be powered by the incredible Port of Churchill Plus project, which is going to put more Manitobans to work with energy projects, working in collaboration with First Nations and the federal government. We're going to get that project done. Something that members opposite ignored again. Maybe they're too busy trying to kowtow to Donald Trump and his rhetoric to focus on the Port of Churchill, but instead we're going to focus on growing our economy right here. Growing an economy strong for Manitoba businesses, workers, and help to support our entire Canadian economy.
The Honourable Member for Portage-La Prairie.
Yesterday, a young Manitoban.
Order. 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 The Honourable Member for Portage-La Prairie.
Yesterday, a young Manitoba who operates a business near the consumption site at 631 Main was assaulted. Their crime? Asking individuals actively selling drugs to vacate the premises in advance of some people trying to enter their business. For their community efforts, they were punched in the face and left with a 1-inch gash that likely needed stitches. The minister's fixation on promoting drug consumption has endangered innocent Manitobans. Will this minister commit to closing this site until an investigation is concluded?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Yeah, I want to extend our sympathies to an individual who has been assaulted. Certainly we want to ensure that every Manitoban is safe in community, and the steps that we're taking as government are working directly toward that. This includes, just in budget 2026, an enhancement to our downtown community safety partnership funding, our partnership with WPS to ensure that they have the resources that they need to ensure that Manitobans are safe, an expansion of our bail supervision program, more electronic monitoring, more funding for law enforcement, not just in Winnipeg, but across this province. All told, Honourable Speaker, a $19 million
Time has
lift.
expired. The Honourable Member for Portage-La Prairie on a supplementary question.
Staff from Sunshine House eventually intervened to blame the victim and say she provoked the dealers. That certainly doesn't sound like the tough on crime, no drug dealing allowed that the minister promised Manitobans. There was nothing safe about this consumption site for the local community. A woman was assaulted, and the minister paid people to blame her while she was bleeding from a head wound. This is happening every day with not only the minister's awareness, with her active support. The minister can choose between community member, providing programming for youth, or dealers. Which is it?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
I'm not sure where the member's getting his information. If he has some information he wants to table for the House, I encourage him to table his notes here today and share with the House the particulars of what he's talking about. What I can say is that our government is getting tough on those who are bringing toxic drugs into our communities. As I said, that's a partnership with law enforcement, but importantly, that's also bringing together all the voices at one table with our drug task force table that's bringing together the resources, the horsepower to be able to solve this issue upstream and also support people in community. It's about getting tough on crime. It's also about getting tough on the causes of crime, and that's why our government is being successful in starting to bend the curve that went up under their watch.
The Honourable Member for Portage la Prairie on a final supplementary question.
This is unacceptable. The minister needs to commit to protecting Manitobans. It wasn't long ago that a woman was assaulted and robbed while trying to assist with an overdose. Clearly, Sunshine House has failed to operate in a responsible manner, and neighborhood residents have become the collateral damage. I am calling today for the minister to immediately suspend operation of MOPS. There is a real security plan in place that needs to be prioritized for all Manitobans, not just users of our drug consumption site. Why won't this minister make these commitments today?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
It's incredibly frustrating, Honourable Speaker, that Manitobans have to listen to the kind of rhetoric that the member opposite is using today, attacking community partners, attacking those who are serving the most vulnerable in our society, all the while completely ignoring their record when they were in office. Crime went up every single year under members opposite. And I haven't gotten many questions on public safety lately, and I can tell you why, Honourable Speaker. It's because the homicide rate is the lowest it's been in 20 years in the city of Winnipeg. Crime is coming down under our watch. The Crime Severity Index, it's down 4%. Youth crime, down 8%. Reported crimes down 4.5%. We are seeing it in central downtown.
Time has expired. The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
When this young woman was assaulted in broad daylight, she tried to get help from emergency services, calling 5 times to no avail. That is downtown Winnipeg under this NDP government. You can be actively bleeding from a head wound and you're on your own. And I want to be incredibly clear. The work that the emergency services do here and the efforts that they give every single day is greatly appreciated. But it's the rejection of the members opposite who created this situation that we want to bring to the forefront. Can the minister explain, if her safety plans were in place, why was this woman left without support?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
You see, this is why Manitobans can't trust the PC party here in the legislature. We know that under their watch, crime went up year over year over year. And what was their response? What was their reaction to crime going up? Well, they cut funding to law enforcement. They froze funding across the province. In fact, in the city of Winnipeg alone, 55 officers were cut under their watch while crime was going up. Now, we're starting to turn the corner, Honourable Speaker, because we've hired 36 new officers here in the city of Winnipeg. More officers coming in Budget 2026. We're getting the job done. They failed every single year.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Winnipeg Police Service call takers are receiving countless calls every day. And that's the reality of life under this NDP government. Resources are stretched absolutely thin. We knew this would be the case around a consumption site. At the community consultation, when asked about the safety plan, the officials from the WPS said honestly that, quote, there is no plan, end quote. Individuals were dealing illegal drugs yesterday at the minister's drug site and assaulted a Manitoban. So, can the minister explain why her funded staff joined the fray to yell at that victim?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Again, Honourable Speaker, he's just making it up. Call volumes have come down with the WPS because we're starting to see the crime rate come down. We have cut the homicide rate in Winnipeg in half, Honourable Speaker. The lowest level in 20 years. And finally, some progress for the rest of downtown. All crime in downtown down by 9.5%. Violent crime down by 5%, and non-violent crime down by 4%. Knife crime dropped by 14%, and it was identified by the WPS that it was our legislation that helped to make the difference. These are the changes we can make. Members opposite have no leg to stand on.
Order, please. I would caution the member that the language he used is coming dangerously close when he's suggesting that someone is just making it up. It's dangerously close to suggesting they're lying, so I would caution the member to be more careful with his language in the future. The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It doesn't surprise me that this minister doesn't follow the rules. This is exactly what community advocates said would happen when the minister's other site at 366 Henry Street. Basic economics tells us that the minister is creating a demand and the market will provide a supply. And when push comes to shove, the minister has no plan to provide safety, and it's the public that is brutally assaulted if they try to keep their doorways safe of drug dealers. How many more victims does the minister need to create before she cares about community safety?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
You know, since day one, we have been partnering with the WPS and working with them around the safety and security around the safe consumption site. And that's because we come to them in a straightforward, honest way. We come with funding, we come with support, and we take their lead in safety and security. What have members opposite done? They have disrespected law enforcement every step of the way. The member opposite calls them window dressing or makes light of them. In fact, they, in a sad attempt to gain political points, they created a video and shared it of a Winnipeg police officer who was working with community that was talking to them about the plan for the supervised consumption site. They make fun of law enforcement. We support law enforcement, and we're going to do that every single day as government.
The Honourable Member for Morden Winkler.
Honourable Speaker, for 35 years, Campus Manitoba has played a critical role in connecting students across our province to post-secondary education. This is especially important for students in rural and northern Manitoba who rely on flexible learning options. Now, this government has chosen to cut all funding and shut it down entirely. At the same time, we are seeing instability and closures affecting institutions like MITT in Winnipeg. Can the minister explain to this House how cutting learning resources improves opportunities for Manitoba students?
The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education and Training.
Honourable Speaker, I am proud every day to get up in this House and talk about advancements in post-secondary education. I want to thank Campus Manitoba for their years of service and acknowledge the good work that they've done in the past. As the member well knows, we've had this discussion. Many institutions now have their own online resources, and we are committed to and working towards saving all of those valuable assets that exist within Campus Manitoba. However, I want to point out something that I think the members here sometimes forget. The impact of the federal government's decision to cut international students has cost the Manitoba economy, based on the most recent data that I have, $1 billion.
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Morden Winkler on a supplementary question.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'll remind the Minister that she had 2.5 years to prepare for this. Affordability is one of the biggest barriers facing students today. Campus Manitoba's Open Ed program has saved students more than $6 million at a time when young Manitobans are already struggling with rising tuitions, cost of living under this NDP government. Yet this government has chosen to eliminate that program with no clear plan to replace it. How can the minister justify decisions that make education unaffordable and put it further out of reach of our Manitoba students?
The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education and Training.
Honourable Speaker, I want to remind the member opposite that she sits along folks who are at the cabinet table when year over year over year they cut funding to all of our post-secondary institutions. That is 7.5 years of not enough, frankly, not enough. And on this side of the House, we've invested record amounts into post-secondary education. We have great relationships. We're working together with all of our institutions to ensure that Manitoba students have the best possible opportunities. I invite the member, if she would like to have a discussion about Campus Manitoba, I would invite her to come to my office to have that discussion, but I can assure all Manitobans that the resources around post-secondary education are being directed into the places
Member's
that
time has expired. The honourable member for Morden Winkler on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, what's most concerning here is the lack of planning and transparency. Students, faculty, and staff were blindsided by the sudden closure of Campus Manitoba, an organization with over 3 decades of proven success. This is the second time in 3 months that this government has closed an education institution by revoking funding. Even now, there is no clear answer on what will happen to its resources or how students will navigate the system going forward. Why does this government continue to make cuts to education without a plan?
The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education and Training.
Honourable Speaker, I will repeat myself. There is a plan, and the pieces of value will continue on. Active discussions happening with our other partners. And I want to again remind the House here that it was their government that year over year over year underfunded and cut post-secondary institutions. It was their government who refused to make investments in any assets related to post-secondary. We are funding programs across the province. There are more students studying in post-secondary institutions than ever before. And, Honourable Speaker, quite frankly, I will take no advice from the members opposite.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Boniface.
L'Honorable Président, le Manitoba compte, sous notre gouvernement, devenir une province véritablement bilingue. Est-ce que le ministre des Relations municipales et du Nord pourrait, s'il vous plaît, nous en dire plus au sujet de comment le Manitoba travaille pour assurer que notre province avance avec ce projet d'importance manitobaine, pan-canadienne et internationale?
The Honourable Minister of Municipal and Northern Affairs.
Je voulais commencer la parole pour souhaiter la bienvenue à nos visiteurs de l'Organisation internationale de la francophonie, en si grand nombre, sans précédence. Their visit is without precedence. Le gouvernement continuera de renforcer la communauté francophone en investissant dans l'éducation en français et investissant dans les initiatives culturelles et économiques qui permettent les francophones ici, au Manitoba, de vivre une vie en français. I can honestly say the effort of our government to elevate the Francophone culture and language here is just an example of how we bring people in, where people can live their lives, their authentic lives. Something that the opposition never did. They shut people out.
The Honourable Member for Lac de Bonnie.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, economic growth and affordability is the only way that we're going to try to increase what is happening in this province. But unfortunately, the NDP continues to fail at that each and every day. Honourable Speaker, we signed an agreement with Canada, the Canada-Manitoba Child Care Agreement, to the tune of $1.2 billion. We'd like to ask this Minister of Education, what is her plan to get to that 23,000 childcare spaces?
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And in advance of next week, which is the week of the Early Childhood Educator, it gives me great pleasure to stand up and talk about the incredible progress that our government is making on childcare here in Manitoba. Honourable Speaker, you don't have to take my word for it. The Manitoba Child Care Association was here on Budget Day when they heard Budget 26, the best budget that's ever been written in the history of Manitoba. And what did they say, Honourable Speaker? I will table it for the House in case I don't get through the whole post because it was so lengthy in their praise of our government. The MCCA is pleased with Budget 2026. It's evident that the government of Manitoba is listening in its commitment to prioritizing early learning and childcare. 2.9% increases to wages, 1% increase to operating, 21 new childcare facilities
Member's time
this
has
year.
expired. The Honourable Member for Lac du Bonny on a supplementary question.
So, Honourable Speaker, in fact, the truth to the whole story, Honourable Speaker, is that the Progressive Conservatives had actually brought forward a plan to, this past March, would have opened 14,000, that's 14,000 childcare spaces. The Auditor General says himself that this government is not going to make the 23,000. Why is that, Honourable Speaker? Because this minister has no plan, and she should stand up and apologize to all those Manitobans that desperately want to go to work and increase our economy and affordability measures by getting to work, because Manitoba works when childcare works. Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And the member opposite talks about the Office of the Auditor General and their report. And the Officer of the Auditor General did say that Manitoba had no plan. Honourable Speaker. That report covered the previous failed PC government's time in office. But Manitobans know. The Manitoba Child Care Association knows, Honourable Speaker. Manitobans know that they have elected a government that understands childcare, that values ECE, and that is making progress. Honourable Speaker, just today in the Pembina Valley Online, what was reported? From the ECE's mouths themselves. I definitely believe that since we've started, we are definitely now respected as a profession.
Has expired. The Honourable Member for Lac du Bonny on a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It's just tough, you know, each and every day here in the Manitoba Legislature when the NDP are constantly heckling, as they continue to do. Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, there's many school divisions, post-secondary institutions that are still waiting for their childcare centres, Honourable Speaker. To name a few out in my area is Sunrise School Division and, of course, the Whiteshell School Divisions, waiting to hear when their childcare centre is actually going to be able to go and get the shovels in the ground. It's unfortunate that this education minister has not brought forward any new plans. The 22 childcare centres that she continues to pat herself on the back were all opened because of our government, Honourable Speaker.
Member's time has expired. The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Honourable Speaker, I think Manitobans will note that there was no question in there. And it's okay, Honourable Speaker, because while the member from Lac du Bonny gets up day after day and talks about himself, what we're doing as a government is we get to work every day on behalf of Manitobans. But since the member wants to talk about his record, let's talk about it. What were the PCs doing with the valuable tax dollars that were intended to benefit Manitobans and open new childcare spaces. What did they do with that money, Honourable Speaker? They siphoned $3 million to their campaign manager, Marty Larkin. That's his record, Honourable Speaker. Manitobans deserve those childcare spaces. We will put every single
expired. Order. Order. The honourable member for Spruce Woods.
Well, the Auditor General has determined that the NDP government is going to miss the 23,000 new childcare spaces target by a long shot. Manitoba families were promised timely access, not a decade-long delay. Why
Order,
does this
please.
minister...
Stop the clock. Order, please. The NDP bench needs to come to order because I can't hear a word that's being said at the moment. The honourable member for Spruce Woods.
Why does this minister not have a long-term plan to get childcare spaces built and staffed in across Manitoba?
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And every single Manitoban in this province that wants childcare deserves childcare, and there's been much accomplished. There is much more to do, Honourable Speaker. We know that for sure. And I've been to every corner of this province, including to the member's own constituency, the member from Spruce Woods. I've spent much time in Souris trying to get alive the project that she's failed to promote, Honourable Speaker. We've been meeting with the Southwest Horizon School Division. We've been meeting with the Executive Director of the Child Care Centre.
Order.
The member for Lajamodier has been there. The member for Keewaydinook has been there. We're going to get it done, something that she failed to do. But, Honourable Speaker, we know the member from Spruce Woods stands with Donald Trump. I would like to ask her today, does she stand with the member for Riding Mountain? She wants to stand here and talk about kids? She wants to stand here and talk about families?
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Spruce Woods.
Honourable Speaker, are repackaged promises the best that this minister can offer Manitoba families? Parents want to be able to get back to work so they can support their families, but they need accessible childcare spaces to do so. Can the Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning explain how she's going to meet her 23,000 space target, or will this simply be another missed NDP target?
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Honourable Speaker, again, all you have to do is look at Budget 2026 to see what our plan is on childcare. 2,000 spaces this year alone, Honourable Speaker. Much accomplished, much more to do, and certainly much to lose if the PCs ever get back into power. So I'll ask the member again. We know that the member from Spruce Woods stands with Donald Trump. She wants to stand here and talk about supporting kids and families. Does she stand with the member for Riding Mountain who bailed out a child sex offender? Manitobans deserve an answer.
Order, please. The time for oral questions has expired. And order, please. The Speaker is standing. We have seated in the public gallery from Pineview Mennonite School 14 grade 8 students under the direction of Philip Brubacher, and this group is located in the constituency, I'm not sure which constituency. We welcome you here today. Petitions, grievances. The honourable member for Agassiz.
On House business.
The honourable member for Agassiz on House business.
Pursuant to Rule 34(8), I'm announcing that the private member's resolution to be considered on the next Thursday of private member's business will be the one put forward by the honourable member for Morden Winkler. The title of the resolution is calling on the provincial government to prioritize the struggles facing Manitoba families.
It has been announced that pursuant to Rule 34, Bracket 8, that the private member's resolution to be considered on the next Thursday of private members' business will be one put forward by... I would remind honourable members that the Speaker is standing and needs to be heard in silence. The private member's resolution to be considered on the next Thursday of private members' business will be one put forward by the honourable member for Morden Winkler, and the title of the resolution is calling on the provincial government to prioritise the struggles facing Manitoba families. The orders of the day, the government business, the Honourable Government House Leader.
Honourable Speaker, I would like to announce the Standing Committee on Justice will meet Tuesday, May 5th, 2026 at 6 p.m. to consider the following: Bill 8, the Long-Bladed Weapon Control Amendment Act; Bill 9, the Street Weapons Control Act; Bill 34, the Interprovincial Subpoena Amendment Act; Bill 38, the Public Schools Amendment and Manitoba School Boards Association Amendment Act; Bill 40, the Elections Amendment Act; Bill 42, the Motor Vehicle Statutes Amendment Act; Bill 44, the Minor Amendments and Corrections Act 2026. I would also like to announce the Standing Committee on Social and Economic Development will meet Tuesday, May 5th, 2026 at 6 p.m. to consider the following: Bill 26, the Health System Governance and Accountability Amendment Act, eliminating mandatory overtime for nurses; Bill 27, the Declaration of Principles for Patient Health Care Act, and amendments to the Health System Governance and Accountability Act; Bill 28, the Health System Governance and Accountability Amendment Act, nurse-to-patient ratio; Bill 32, the Improving Access to Breast Cancer Screening Act; Bill 50, the Pharmaceutical Amendment, Regulated Health Professionals Amendment and Public Health Amendment Act. I would also like to announce the Standing Committee on Social and Economic Development will meet on Thursday, May 7th at 2026 at 6 p.m. to consider the following: Bill 6, the Sign Languages Recognition Act; Bill 36, the Child and Family Services Amendment Act. I would also like to announce the Standing Committee on Legislative Affairs will meet Thursday, May 7th, 2026 at 6 p.m. to consider the following: Bill 33, the Planning Amendment and City of Winnipeg Charter Amendment Act; Bill 41, the Promoting Inclusion in Amateur Sport Act; Bill 43, the Highway Traffic Amendment and Drivers and Vehicles Amendment Act. I would also like to announce the Standing Committee on Social and Economic Development will meet on Tuesday, May 12th, 2026 at 6 p.m. to consider the following: Bill 16, the Mental Health Amendment Act; Bill 18, the Waste Reduction and Prevention Amendment Act, strengthening enforcement; Bill 37, the Environmental Statutes Amendment Act. I would also like to announce the Standing Committee on Legislative Affairs will meet on Tuesday, May 12th, 2026 at 6 p.m. to consider the following: Bill 11, the Employment Standards Code Amendment Act, sick notes for employee absences; Bill 19, the Animal Care Amendment Act; Bill 19, the University of Winnipeg Amendment Act; Bill 35, the Adult Learning Centers Amendment Act; Bill 45, the Yellow Quill University College Act and amendments to the Advanced Education Administration Act. Sorry, Bill 29, correction, Honourable Speaker. Bill 29, the University of Winnipeg Amendment Act. And can you please call for Committee of Supply?
So it has been announced that the Standing Committee on Justice will meet on Tuesday, May 5th, 2026 at 6 p.m. to consider the following bills: Bill 8, Bill 9, Bill 34, Bill 38, Bill 40, Bill 42, and Bill 44. Also been announced that the Standing Committee on Social and Economic Development will meet on Tuesday, May 5th, 2026 at 6 p.m. to consider the following: Bill 26, Bill 27, Bill 28, Bill 32, and Bill 50. Further, it's been announced that the Standing Committee on Social and Economic Development will meet on Thursday, May 7, 2026 at 6 p.m. to consider the following: Bill 6 and Bill 36. Further, the Standing Committee on Legislative Affairs will meet on Thursday, May 7th at 6 p.m. to consider the following: Bill 33, Bill 41, and Bill 43. The Standing Committee on Social and Economic Development will meet on Tuesday, May 12th, 2026 at 6 p.m. to consider the following: Bill 16, Bill 18, and Bill 37. Further, the Standing Committee on Legislative Affairs will meet on Tuesday, May 12, 2026 at 6 p.m. to consider the following: Bill 11, Bill 19, Bill 29, Bill 35, and Bill 45. And now, the House will resolve into the Committee of Supply to consider estimates from public service delivery in the Chamber, business, mining, trade, and job creation in room 254, and justice in room 255. The Deputy will now take the chair.
Will the Committee of Supply please come to order? This section of the Committee of Supply will now resume consideration of the estimates for the Department of Public Service Delivery. At this time, we invite Ministerial and Opposition staff to enter the chamber. Could the Minister please introduce the staff that are in attendance? The Honourable Minister of Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I have with me Deputy Minister Brenda Desrano, Director of Ministerial Affairs Julia Anthonyson, Assistant Deputy Minister and Executive Financial Officer Jason Perez, Assistant Deputy Minister of Asset Management Division Brent Timmerman, Acting Assistant Deputy Minister of Procurement and Supply Chain Division Kunal Sharma, Assistant Deputy Minister of Consumer Protection Division Catherine Durkin-Chudd, Acting Assistant Deputy Minister of Capital Project Planning and Delivery Division Cheryl Lashik.
We thank the Minister. Could the opposition critic please introduce their staff in attendance? The Honourable Member for Borderland.
Thank you, Chair. We have with us today Mark Stewart, a member of PC Caucus staff.
Thank you. As previously stated, in accordance with Sub-Rule 78(16), during the consideration of departmental estimates, questioning for each department shall proceed in a global manner. So as previously stated, in accordance with Sub-Rule 78(16), during the consideration of departmental estimates, questioning for each department shall proceed in a global manner. The floor is now open for questions. The Honourable Member for Borderland.
Thank you, Chair. I wonder if the Minister could talk about the under expenditure by 17% of the central capital budget. How is it that that number comes to be so low? And more specifically, what are the absolute numbers in millions of dollars or billions of dollars that were not spent? So 17% of it comes to what amount of money?
The honourable member for Borderland.
Chair, seeing as it's been over 10 minutes to get an answer to this question, and I respect the work of staff and the minister, and try to answer, if he'd be amenable to taking it under advisement and getting back to us when he's able to do so, and then I'd pose another question for him.
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Sometimes project team works hard to be, sometimes the project need to be deferred into the next fiscal year for various reasons. For example, site conditions. Our capital teams works hard to maximize the work completed each year. So I want to thank our CPPD team, all the hard work they are doing each and every day. This is an incredible team, and I'm lucky to be working with these folks. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Borderland.
Okay, that was not exactly an answer to the question I had posed. I was asking about the budget in dollars. What was the amount budgeted under the central capital? On page 35, the central capital budget. What is the central capital budget in terms of dollars? And even if I could get that number, that would be great, because I think that wouldn't be that hard to do the math and figure out what a 17% under expenditure looks like. But it'd be great to get the number, what that amount is. And then also, while I have the opportunity, which specific projects were deferred until the next year that resulted in that 17% under expenditure? And again, that's on page 35.
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The information the member is looking for can be found on page 37 of 24-25 estimates of expenditure, which is a public document.
The Honourable Member for Borderland.
Okay, well, I guess the minister wants to be difficult. I wasn't asking gotcha questions. I'm just looking for answers, but I can't get answers. And that's unfortunate. How many above guideline rent increase requests were received in the last year?
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. There were 560 AGI applications received during 25-26 fiscal year.
The Honourable Member for Borderland.
How many of those above guideline rent increase requests were approved in that same time period?
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
In fiscal year 2025-26, 293 were approved.
The Honourable Member for Borderland.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's doing rough math in my head. It was almost 600 requests received and almost 300 approved. So this NDP government is approving 50% of all above guideline rent increases, rent increase requests in Manitoba. So that's interesting. When it comes to the Residential Tenancies Board, what is the turnaround time for a request?
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Can the member be a little bit more specific on what kind of a turnaround time he's looking at RTV?
The Honourable Member for Borderland.
Yeah, so just when someone submits a request, how long does it take to have that heard? And even appeals, how long does that take for an appeal to be heard?
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
We are still not clear, but the member is asking, can it be a little bit more specific? Is it related to AGI? Is it related to turnaround time? On what matter is he looking for?
The honourable member for Borderland.
Okay, I thought I mentioned it, maybe I didn't, but the Residential Tenancies Board. When someone submits a request to the Residential Tenancies Board for an above guideline rent increase, maybe I completely missed that. I didn't think I had, but all right.
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The time it takes to process AGI application can vary depending on how long it takes for the RTB to work with the landlord to verify expenses. Tenants also must be notified and given the chance to review the materials. The average time in 25-26 was 194.5 days.
The Honourable Member for Borderland.
I suggest the minister study his department more. I don't know how often he's meeting with his department staff, but he's got 7 staff with him here today, and we're asking simple questions, and it's taking close to 10 minutes, in some cases over 10 minutes, to get an answer to these simple questions. He runs a department that is a very important file within government, and it's an important file to Manitobans. And you know, Manitobans deserve to have a minister at the helm of this department that is competent, you know, that is innovative and quick thinking, and is, at the end of the day, knows his file. And I just think what we're seeing here today on public display is incredibly unfortunate. When it comes to renters and the complaints that they may submit to the Residential Tenancies Board, what's the response time there for the RTB to get back to renters?
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I do have a I know the member opposite doesn't respect the civil servants. This is what we have heard from not once, even last time when we were here. This is what I heard from that member. But on the other hand, the NDP government do respect every civil servant, and we want to thank their services to Manitobans. There were 35,000 phone calls, and there were 25,000 emails, and 16,000 people who just walked in to the RTB office. It depends on the issue. It's varied by the issue, the response time. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Borderland.
No, it's unanswered. In fact, I think in one of my very first questions, I thanked the minister's staff for the work that they do. So that's not what this is about. This is about the minister deliberately trying not to answer questions and stalling, killing time. I don't know why it's taking roughly 10 minutes on average to answer questions, basic questions, that the minister should have a ready knowledge of. So that's what this is about. This is about the minister's ability to answer questions in this public forum, questions that Manitobans deserve an answer to. And that's what we're here to do today. And I think it's unfortunate that the minister is not being forthcoming and transparent. Kind of like his behavior and the government's behavior, this NDP government's behavior when it comes to the Manitoba Jobs Agreement, which has been shrouded in secrecy. When did the minister purchase 366 Henry?
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
Well, thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm more than happy to talk about the MJA if the member want to go there. The only problem with the member is they don't study the bills and they don't want to listen to Manitoba workers, especially the member from Borderland. He was given a chance to learn about MGA, why they are good for Manitoba workers, why is it good for Manitoba economy, and I guess member just want to collect six-figure salary and go home. That's it. That's what he want to do. But on the other hand, we will continue to listen to Manitoba workers, and we will be there standing shoulder to shoulder with the Manitoba workers. MJ is all about fair wages, safe working condition, better benefits. And I have never met any person who doesn't want to make more money. But the member opposite, not even single time have mentioned or met someone that he can direct to me that someone want to make less money. So I don't know why only purpose of this member is just to collect six-figure salary. Thank Donald Trump and want Canada to be part of the states, which will never happen. Their leader thanked Donald Trump for the tariff, which is hurting Manitoba economy. If we can go to the corruption the PCs had, we can go all the way to Premier Feldman. Sold MTS, then became their board member, get paid. Heather Stephenson signed a contract with WestJet, became their board member later on. So what is this? This is what the PCs is. Member from Red River North sits in their caucus. You know why he's in their caucus? He's training the next MLAs how to trick Manitobans. That's what he's doing, sitting in that caucus. The building was purchased on August 22nd, 2025.
The Honourable Member for Borderland.
Oh, that's too good. The minister's first words in that response was, the member wants to talk about the MGA, I've got answers. So I have one simple question for him, and we'll be watching the clock and see how long it'll take him to answer this. The question is, where is this 85 cents per hour per laborer that is being collected on public projects through the MGA? Where is that money going? What's it being used for? That's the question.
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I know the member has never been to a job site. So MGA is about fair wages, safer work sites, better benefits. We are training the workforce for the future. Manitobans want to see Churchill built, and we are training the workforce to do that. There's a survey came out the other day. That 79% of Manitobans want to see the Churchill project proceed, and we need the workers to do that. And we will continue to do that, train the workforce so they can build the Churchill. And we want to make sure the Manitobans are the one who are building it. We have seen previously from the Conservative, they never trained the workforce for the future. They brought the workforce out of Saskatchewan and Alberta. But the NDP government is different than the Conservative. We are training our own workforce here. We are turning our construction site to training sites. I don't know why the member want to see workers get injured on job sites. Why doesn't he want to see a safer work site? That's what is in the MGA, having fair wages, benefits. Well, the member himself gets the benefits, but he doesn't want Manitoba workers to have that benefits. So we will continue to stand on the side of workers each and every day. The BTBC remittance follow the same process as similar labor strategies and is included to support the administrative and labor relation function required under the MGA. This is mentioned throughout the first MGA in market and also included in all tendering documents. So these funds support training and making sure workers are safe on site. Again, my question to member is, why doesn't he want the workers to be safe? We know he has never visited on a work site. And I encourage him to learn more about MGA. I encourage him to go talk to workers. And I will come down wherever the member asks. Hey, you know what, I had just met someone here that, you know what, they want to make less money. I'll drive, tell me the time, I'll drive over there. So when I make, that's the offer to the member, and also offer to the members learn more about MGA. Why this is good for Manitobans. I want the member to listen to workers. Since yesterday, since the question period, I have not seen a member ever mentioning about the workers, you know. So I want him to go out, talk to Manitoba workers, be on a construction site, be regular folks who go out and work, listen to them, understand their issues. This is really, really important, that they're safe with their families, they have a better pay so they can go out, spend in our economy. Our economy will improve as people get better pay and better benefit, and they will spend in our own economy. There were over 11,000 jobs created last month in Manitoba. Majority of those jobs were in construction industry. So I'm really, really happy for that. We are creating those jobs here in Manitoba. So Manitoba workers don't have to go to other provinces. They don't have to go to Saskatchewan. They don't have to go to Alberta. So they can be here with their families, spend the weekend out in our beautiful parks, and be healthy. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
The honourable member for Borderland.
No answer. The minister's going off on tangents. There's been no answer. The minister expects us to believe that this 85-cent per hour per worker surcharge, which again could go up, the clause in the Manitoba Jobs Agreement allows this government through the Building Trades Manitoba, which is their union allies, political allies, to raise that surcharge. Well, let's just take that 85-cent surcharge that's there right now and apply that, because it will be applied to the 4 new schools that are supposed to be built. And that comes to $250,000 collected in that fee on each school. So over 4 schools, that's $1 million. So the minister expects us to believe that that $1 million is for administration, for administering the project, on top of, I mean, the construction industry is calling this surcharge, and they're the ones who actually build Manitoba, let's be clear about that. So they're the ones who are saying that this charge is entirely unprecedented. They've never seen anything like it. We've seen examples before. In Manitoba, 20 years ago, the NDP tried this and was a disaster on the Red River Floodway. It was an absolute disaster. Dragged out timelines, project timelines, ran up costs, chased bidders away, chased competition away. We've seen this in BC just recently, where the NDP government there brought in their version of an MGA, which they call a community benefits agreement. They always use Orwellian language. You notice that. But so these CBAs, they applied one. They applied them to a bridge project there, a $106 million project. And on that $106 million, $6.6 million was for the CBA fees, which happened to be the 3rd largest line item on that project. So this isn't an insignificant amount of money that all of a sudden, and I'm like, for decades, the construction industry has built roads and bridges, schools and hospitals in Manitoba. And now in 2026, this NDP government comes in and says, we want to slap this charge on, and that money's supposed to go to administration and safety training. That's baloney. That's nonsense. Like, it just doesn't pass the smell test. And I think to Manitoba taxpayers, you know, that doesn't pass the smell test. And I think it's interesting, too, that the minister wants to talk about safety. Everyone wants a safe workplace. In fact, Manitoba construction work sites for decades have been very, very safe workplaces. Very safe. In fact, the non-union shops, the open shops, actually have a better safety record than unionized work sites, workplaces. And it's also interesting and important for the minister to know this, that safety outcomes in the construction industry have been driven by industry-based safety programs. In fact, the unions will actually utilize these safety programs that have been created by open shop construction associations. In fact, 2 of the largest safety courses, Work Safely, which is one, was created by Manitoba Heavy Construction Association. The Construction Safety Association of Manitoba was created by the Winnipeg Construction Association. So the minister's, going off on tangents, but nothing that he said actually holds up to the facts. And we still don't have any answers. We're expected to believe that the $1 million they collect in this fee across the 4 schools is supposed to go to administration. But I think what's most concerning is that this Manitoba Jobs Agreement has never been brought to this legislature for a vote. It has never been brought before a legislative committee. No legislator has ever been able to have any debate or input or vote on the Manitoba Jobs Agreement. This is a secret deal cooked up at the cabinet table by this minister, his NDP colleagues, and their political allies in the Manitoba building trades.
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think member from member from Waterland doesn't have any more questions. I see the member from AGC has the floor on the opposite side. Looking forward to her questions related to our estimates.
The Honourable Member for Agassiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to thank the Minister for giving us some information here today. I am going to, we have a number of questions that I would like to get to, but I want to start with mine and be more specific to my constituency and Agassiz and more the town of Nipua. It was our government that introduced a new hospital, or not only the new hospital, but a new school as well. And I'm just wondering if the minister can give us an update on what the status is of that new school. I know it's been in your plans as well. I'm just wondering where it is on the priority list. When can we expect some shovels in the ground to see that new school, that new vocational school in Nipua start?
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. My department works with many different departments. We deliver their capitals. And I'm very happy to share that we are building 11 new schools. Those schools are Devonshire Park, and thanks to the hard work for the MLA from Radisson, they want to update that school to a bigger school, and we listen to her, and we listen to her community, and we listen to the school division. So that school is supposed to be 675 students, but we are building it up to capacity of 800. Prairie Point School, also hard work of our MLA from Waverly and the school division. And we will be building a school in Meadowlands, and hardworking MLA from McPhelps. And he's opening one school this year, and this is gonna be the next one. I'm so happy for him. He's really, really hardworking MLA. And we are building Brandon Southwest School as well, and also we'll be building a new French school in Brandon. And St. Anne's Regional High School, that's also on one of them. Bridgewater Lake School, again, our MLA from Waverly is working really, really hard. So, he wants to see more schools built in his community. All these schools that we are building, like K-8, I'm very happy to say that talking to Minister of Education and talking to the communities, they want to have play structures with all those schools. Previous government, they never built those play structures. And we will be building play structure with all the schools. So. And, yes, Nipawawa Regional High School is also on the list. Highland Point School, also another 7 Oaks, And there's a school that will be built on King Edward Street, which is the high school. And a new French school in Winnipeg, St. Boniface MLA, hardworking MLA. There's another one, we are building it. So if I can maybe directly answer the question to the member, again, we deliver their capital for the different departments, but that question might be better directed at the education department.
The Honourable Member for Agassiz.
Okay, thank you. So the minister isn't able to give me a timeline or where that school is in terms of priority for this NDP government. So seeing no answer in that, I'm going to move on, and maybe we can get an answer in our next question here. So in June of 2025, the Buy Canadian Act passed, but it's not reflected in the minister's estimate books here. And despite them talking about the procurement processes, I'm just wondering, can the minister, and hopefully this can be a straightforward question, can the minister table a copy of the policy that he was legally required to produce and establish in relation to the Buy Canadian Act that was passed last year in June of 2025?
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. In response to evolving international trade dynamics, the Government of Manitoba has introduced a series of measures in the form of preference clauses and exemption approval in order to support Manitoba and Canadian businesses in participating in public procurement and to help diversify our supply base. In March 2025, Manitoba government introduced the Buy Canadian Act by amending the Government Purchase Act, establishing the legislative authority to develop a provincial Buy Canadian policy for core government goods procurement. The Government of Canada implemented their BCP framework on December 16, 2025. The framework is designed to strengthen Canadian supply chain by prioritizing Canadian suppliers, strategically incorporating Canadian content, and promoting the use of Canadian material in federal procurement. Public Service Delivery is developing Manitoba's Buy Canadian policy to strengthen our supply chain and support Manitoba and Canadian businesses through a Team Canada approach. The policy will continue to strengthen national economy while remaining grounded in Manitoba's legislative framework, procurement objective, and market condition. Manitoba has operated its procurement approach by incorporating preference clauses in our tenders, prioritizing Canadian and non-U.S. suppliers, Canadian and non-U.S. construction product, as well as Canadian steel, where is feasible. Manitoba has also implemented the U.S. contract exemption approval process to help ensure viable alternative and government priorities are considered before awarding a contract to U.S. suppliers. In October 2025, Manitoba collaborated with the public sector entity to deliver the first Manitoba Public Procurement Conference to improve transparency in public procurement process and help Indigenous, local, and small businesses identify and pursue public sector procurement opportunities. Manitoba is taking a coordinated whole-of-government approach to develop our BCP by consulting with the relevant department to advance Manitoba's strategic sector and accelerating policy implementation. This is also very, very important, Honourable Chair, because what we have heard from the PC leader, that where he wants to thank Donald Trump, and this is where our business, Canadian businesses, Manitoba businesses will be hurt, because he's thanking Donald Trump for the tariff that he's putting on Canadians and Manitobans. Our approach is different, Honourable Chair. We will continue to listen to Manitoba businesses, and we will also work with our other provinces as well as federal government. I'm sure their priorities are also pretty similar the way we are seeing it here. We want to prioritize our own businesses here. It's very, very important that we always work with the local suppliers, Canadian companies, and so they can create good paying jobs here in Manitoba and in Canada. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
The Honourable Member for Agassiz.
So I guess the answer to that is no, you can't table the policy that you're legally required to do. But moving forward, I do have another question. And again, this is going to be in relation to the Buy Canadian Act, that of which has not been proclaimed. And, you know, the minister's talking about Donald Trump in the U.S., and we see contracts going south of the border. We know people are leaving Manitoba. There is nothing here to support new business, build the economy. Again, Buy Canadian Act has not been proclaimed. Is that why this government is sending so many contracts south to the US border? That's a yes or no answer.
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We have heard from PC leader thanking Donald Trump for the tariffs. And even they were in power for 7.5 years. They never brought any policy or bill that will prioritize Canadian companies. All they were doing is sending the contract to the South. They really never tried to develop our own supply chain here. We have to always look for the South, but it has been changed under our government. In 25-26, we reduced new contract to the US by 31%. That's last year, 25-26. So this is a huge, again, we are introduced preference clauses in our bids to prioritize Canadian companies. Even if we are giving a little bit more information to the companies, even though they are Manitoba companies, smaller companies, they want to bid. Even if the one Manitoba company won the contract, but the second Manitoba company failed their bid, our department is there to offer them the support. So they will learn a little bit how they failed that bid and how can they be successful next time. So this is really, really important. Again, the Conservatives' focus was always sending those contracts to the South, and our focus is keeping them here. And it was the first time in the history of Manitoba, thanks to the team from procurement and supply chain, we hosted the conference, procurement conference, and it was sold out. Over 500 attendees. To this day, people are talking about, hey, when are you going to host the next one? Because it's went so well. People learned so much how to bid our own contracts here. So this is something our government always will prioritize Canadian companies. Again, reducing the spend on the contract by 31%. That's huge. Again, Conservative never even tried to do that. They never even brought a bill, or they never even have the policies. They were just signing the contract to the south of us. I was very happy to say that. We also brought in a contract back to Canada, where the Conservative sent that contract all the way to Texas company. For the PERC process. I'm very happy to report that. That's in Manitoba now. So our own, keeping those work here instead of sending it to the South, sending that money to the South. No, and there are lots of Manitobans who enjoy parks. I enjoy going to the parks as well, spending those nights. Sometimes you can't make it, you want to cancel it, but they still charge you money for canceling services. So again, that was their record, and under us, the contract is back in Canada, back in Manitoba. So we will continue to prioritize Manitobans and Canadian companies. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
The Honourable Member for Lac du Bonnet.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. So I've been sitting in the chamber listening to the estimates of the Minister for the Public Service Delivery, the MLA for Maples, for quite some time here, and I have to say that I like to think that I've had a good working relationship with the Minister for the Maples, and of course his predecessor, Mohinder Saran, as well. I've had a good working relationship with him. It's interesting that the $36 million contract from Manitoba is going to companies in President Trump's economy, and it seems that the minister seems to be okay with it. But I think that's more what his boss, the Premier of Manitoba, wants him to say. So we'll give him a little bit of leeway on that. And I'm going to ask a fairly friendly question, I guess, which should be easy to answer just because it's something that I believe affects all Manitobans. And I just wanted to ask, because I've been wanting to ask this question for a while, so I appreciate the time afforded to me by my good friend and colleague, the MLA for Agassiz, who had asked the question about a school which was, supposed to be built in her constituency, but it's unfortunate that the minister can't answer the timeline or when that school is going to be built as a technical vocational school in her constituency. So here we go with the question. So it's in regards to permanent alterations to this building. We know that the Premier had gone about trying to for the sake of a photo op, went and basically he went and physically drilled holes into the front of the Manitoba Legislature to hang a Canadian flag. Now, we're all about the monarchy and our flag and our being consistent and definitely loving this great country of ours. But I do believe that there is decisions regarding this building are supposed to be made through the Legislative Assembly Management Committee. Legislative Assembly Management Commission. So can the minister answer where he got the authorization, this minister of Public Service Delivery, to drill holes into the People's Building so the Premier could do a photo op with the Canadian flag? And can you give me the date as well? Would be great. And where you received that permission.
The Honourable Minister for Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I want to thank the member for that question. And I'm gonna touch both parts, the Earmark Canada contract and as well as the Legislature building. You know, I remember being appointed to this position, and the first meeting I had with the previous minister, she pointed me, you know, you will be the new owner of this building, which is a people's building, and I have to take care of this building on behalf of all the people in Manitoba. And, you know, we open the building for folks to visit, and especially Christmas time, you know, lots of people come and enjoy this historical building. And this is our job to keep that building up to date and open to the public. This is a direction from the Premier. This is also my belief that this building should be open to everyone because this is people's building. And it's so nice to see so many diverse communities comes in and having so many events in this building. So I want to talk about a little bit about the Earmark Canada. This is a Canadian company. They employ over 13,000 Canadians and over 200 Manitobans. The contract the member was talking about was publicly tendered and open to all the bidders, including Manitoba companies. Our government is buying Canadian more than the PCs ever did. So that's the record. You've probably seen 31% less contracts to the states. So PCs only want to thank Donald Trump. And I want to quickly, maybe I have only 1 minute, I want to let the member know how the process works for the procurement. The value of the contract has not increased. 12 million was used as a placeholder for the first year while demand was still being assessed. Now that the 12 million is confirmed, the agreement has been updated to reflect the estimated total spend over 3 years. It is simple math, Honorable Chair. 3 times 12 is 36. This is all very standard procurement process. So again, the Conservatives spent thanking Donald Trump all these years, and they never did anything for Manitoba companies. All they did was send all the contracts over.
Order. The hour being 5 p.m. Committee rise and call on the Speaker. The hour being 5 p.m., this House is adjourned and stands adjourned until 1:30 p.m. Monday, May 4th.